It's going to come fast and furious, and the next 7 years are going to fly by, and I think the people in Vancouver aren't going to know what hit them.
Canada takes on an Olympic-sized challenge and some Olympic-sized problems.
We're already kind of in our contingency plan, and largely we're protecting all the snow that we can to make sure that we have adequate enough snow for building the field of play for the games.
On News and Review today, the road to the Winter Olympics. Hello, I'm Carla Robinson. On February the 12th, 2010, the 21st Winter Olympics opened in Vancouver. For the athletes competing in the Games, it was the moment they had been training for years, and they would be the stars of the show. But it was also a magic moment for the organizers and an army of volunteers who had been working for years to make the show happen, planning a bid, lobbying the International Olympic Committee, and then keeping their fingers crossed when in July of 2003, the decision was announced.
The International Olympic Committee has the honor of announcing that the 21st Olympic Winter Games in 2010 are awarded to the city of Vancouver.
The Games are coming back to Canada.
It was a moment of disbelief, a moment of pure joy.
It's the Vancouver 2010 Games. We've got the Games, and I can't believe I'm just saying it now. That's probably the first time I've actually said it, our Games.
But now came the hard part.
It's going to come fast and furious, and the next 7 years are going to fly by, and I think the people in Vancouver aren't going to know what hit them.
7 venues, including this stadium, would have to be renovated. 7 other facilities, including 2 hockey arenas, would have to be built from scratch at an estimated cost of $620 million. A road to the town of Whistler that would host many events would have to be widened.
But not only that, there's the human element as well. I mean, they're going to mobilize tens of thousands of volunteers. Security personnel need to be trained. There's technical issues of training.
It was a huge challenge and a controversial one. Many people in British Columbia that would share the costs of the game with the federal government were not happy. They felt the money should have been spent on other things and were afraid that costs would escalate, which is exactly what happened. So much so that just 2 years later, the organizers were forced to downsize their plans. The CBC's Chris Brown has that story.
No snow now, just lots of mud and mountain bikers on Whistler's slopes. But in the background, the first signs that the resort is readying for a Winter Olympics. 3 summers from now, in 2007, the venue for the luge and bobsled will be complete.
We want to give our athletes 2 full years of home field advantage so that we can be successful with on the playing field during the games.
The timetable is tight, the budget even more so. When they won the 2010 bid, Olympic organizers put the costs of building and maintaining all the new facilities at $620 million. But 2 years later, that figure is looking extremely optimistic. A building boom has sent construction costs soaring, adding anywhere from 25% to 40% to the cost of some of the venues. Construction materials are pricier, and work on other mega projects such as the new Vancouver Convention Centre has created a bidding war for skilled workers, which could put games organizers in a tough spot as 2010 approaches.
When it comes right down to the crunch, it's very possible that we're still going to have to import people at whatever price it'll take to bring them here.
Already, Olympic planners have had to scale back some projects, such as the ski jumping facilities to be built near Whistler, and a dedicated skating oval in Richmond may end up being used by other sports. Still, some fear it won't be enough.
Ultimately, the taxpayers are going to be on the hook, and politicians, either of the left or the right, are selling us a pipe dream, and I think citizens should be very skeptical.
If there was no other ways of mitigating pressures, then we'd have to come back to Treasury Board with that. But at this stage, they're not asking for that.
Dipping into some of the better-than-expected corporate sponsorship money is also an option, so for now, no panic, but a deadline and a challenge for Olympic builders that's getting more difficult to meet. Chris Brown, CBC News, Whistler, BC.
Over the next year, construction continued at a furious pace. But costs continued to grow, jumping 23% in just 2.5 years. And as the city started its 3-year countdown to the games, so did the grumbling. Here again is the CBC's Chris Brown.
Time slips by on Vancouver's newest landmark.
We don't have a single moment to waste.
The clock is designed to inspire a city and stoke enthusiasm for an Olympics that for many can't come soon enough, but for others is a big sore point. Several members of an anti-poverty group were arrested and charged after storming the stage. Another group put up its own clock that's counting what it says is the rising number of people without a place to live.
We're losing the housing in the downtown east side to Olympic speculation and to gentrification.
Shut down 2010!
Yet hardcore opponents were relatively few in number and not representative of most in Vancouver. Still, the games have many here grumbling, and for them, this is what comes to mind. 2010-driven transit construction and a city in a mess.
Every single morning I go through this. Every single morning. It's not working.
Then there are the hundreds of minor hockey players who'll soon lose their hockey rinks that must be refurbished and turned into practice facilities for the 2010 games.
We're starting to feel that the legacy for our children has been one of deprivation.
Elsewhere in Whistler, home of the downhill events, there are nagging worries about where everyone will stay. Already, it's not uncommon to find as many as 6 residents sharing the same living space.
Pretty spacious, but it's not fun sharing a bed.
With their usual boosterism, 2010 organizers brush off all the concerns, talking up the economic spin-offs and just plain excitement the Olympics will generate.
We work with these groups in the community trying to make sure that the Games is a good positive catalyst going forward.
On a day to talk about deadlines, 2010 staff say $500 million worth of new Olympic construction projects are on time and should be ready well before the Games begin. And a good thing too, they say, because 3 years will go by quickly. Chris Brown, CBC News, Vancouver.
And so they did. With 1 year to go, preparations continued at a frantic pace, even as the bill for the games continued to grow, especially the one for security. Thousands of soldiers, police officers, and private security officers will guard the venues and the surrounding areas. The tab for their services was supposed to be $200 million, but with just months to go before the games, it had ballooned to close to $1 billion. And there were other problems too. Some residents complained that some security measures threatened their civil liberties, and a plan to take the city's homeless off the streets also proved controversial. The CBC's Kathy Tomlinson has that story.
A former drug addict who turned her life around. Claire Burke says her eco-friendly store had a great location until the BC government moved drug users in upstairs.
For the Olympics. It's not a long-term solution. Some people aren't housable in these kinds of situations. They need rehabilitation.
This hotel is one of 23 the province bought up to get the homeless off the street. All low-barrier housing, which means resident addicts are allowed to do drugs.
I've been in discussions.
Creating havoc outside, Burke says.
He was screaming in front of my store for a half an hour in cuffs. She was out there, they were trying to sort of separate them, but she was sort of crying and saying, "I'm so sorry."
Scaring customers away. The manager upstairs says the rooms are great, but
there's a lot of people here who are wanting to go to detox. And then that process is very frustrating.
3 businesses withheld rent and asked for a discount. The government sent a bailiff instead to threaten eviction.
I understand the people upstairs have rights. I thought I had rights too.
Meantime, this restaurateur says syringes were being thrown on his patio.
I think my government is kind of sponsoring the drug dealing here, instead of trying to do something about it.
Burke says her business has suffered so much, she's far behind in the rent.
Someone with the power just has to say, okay, yes, you can stay here, we'll make your rent. That's a fair market value.
The government is set to evict her.
This particular tenant is deeply in arrears, and we've sought the legal action we can with regards to a commercial tenancy. It's nothing to do with the residents.
The minister says getting the homeless off this street should be good news, but that's little comfort to the business owners who feel Vancouver's getting a pre-Olympic makeover at their expense. Kathy Tomlinson, CBC News, Vancouver.
With just 3 months to go, Olympic spirits got a boost when the Olympic torch was lit in Greece and arrived in Canada.
It's awesome. I'm so excited.
12,000 torchbearers would carry it across Canada, on foot or by float plane, snowboard, surfboard, and bobsled. A journey of 45,000 kilometers and the longest ever torch relay in a single country. But then, with just a couple of months to go, Olympic spirits were dampened a bit when organizers were forced to deal with a new threat, the weather. In mid-November, a big blast of warm air, known as a Pineapple Express, rolled in from the Pacific and caused widespread flooding. And in January, warm temperatures and rain caused many ski areas to close and left this venue, where ski and snowboarding competitions are supposed to be held, looking distinctly soggy. But organizers said they weren't worried.
We're already kind of in our contingency plan, and largely we're protecting all the snow that we can to make sure that we have adequate enough snow for building the field of play for the games.
As the CBC's Duncan McHugh reports, with 3 weeks to go, organizers were hoping for the best and preparing for the worst.
Looking for snow in Vancouver? Here it is.
There's some of the snowdrops coming through as well.
A perennial called the snowdrop. And horticulturalist Casey Warfel is thrilled with the warm weather.
You start to see things blooming and the shoots coming out of the ground and stuff starting to bud out the trees and things like that.
Yes, typically this time of year, Vancouverites gloat to our freezing friends and relatives back east. But right now, no one is bragging.
I think the world's coming in a few weeks. It'd be nice to have a little white stuff on the hills and make the place look pretty.
Indeed, some can't help joking when the mountain that's playing host to snowboarding and freestyle events looks like this. Other Olympics have faced non-wintry weather, notably Calgary in 1988 when a balmy Chinook blew in. Still, this is far from ideal, admit Van Auck officials, who have on standby snowcats, trucks, even helicopters to haul snow in. And they're getting creative with course making.
We're bringing in a lot of straw. We're actually building some pieces that will help us to put the course together. So we're using wood and straw basically to take the place of snow where we need it as we build our courses.
How are you supposed to keep fake snow on like wood or anything? It's just going to all slide down and compress into the bottom.
But they're dubious in this snowboard shop of a half pipe built with slushy snow and straw.
If the half pipe isn't as good as it can be, the riders are just not going to be able to push it to the limits, not going to be able to go as big as they can.
And unfortunately, it doesn't look like Mother Nature has any plans to help out the folks on local ski hills. Meteorologists say the days are getting longer, the temperatures are getting warmer, and time is running out. Duncan McHugh, CBC News, Vancouver.
And then, of course, time did run out. The long road to the 21st Winter Olympics was finally over. And after all that hard work, it was time for those magic words. Let the games begin. And that's News in Review. Don't forget to check out our website at newsandreview.cbclearning.ca. I'm Carla Robinson. Thanks for watching.
All of a sudden we heard fireworks. All the flight attendants start screaming, jumping, fire, fire, fire.
A bombing attempt on a plane triggers a worldwide security scare.
It's like a 2-day wait they put us on, so now we're on standby.
I'm just not looking forward to going through security.
On News and Review today, the plane bomber and airport security. Hello, I'm Carla Robinson. If you've ever flown on a plane, you know the drill. First, you check your bags, and then you report to security to be searched for weapons or bombs. Over the years, these security measures have become stricter as would-be terrorists have tried to blow up planes with explosives hidden in bottles of liquid or even their shoes. And on Christmas Day of last year, they became even tougher after a young man tried to blow up a plane coming in to land in Detroit with explosives sewn into his underwear. The plane landed safely after another passenger stopped him from igniting what at first many believed was a firecracker.
We heard a loud pop, then a bit of a smoke, and then some flames, then yelling and screaming.
It was scary. It was a loud firecracker that went off, and there was a fire in the plane after a few seconds. It was very scary for everyone.
But then security officials named the suspect, Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib, a 23-year-old from Nigeria, and as the CBC's Nala Ayed reports, said he had tried to blow up the plane.
All of a sudden we heard fireworks, and then screaming. All the flight attendants start screaming, jumping, fire, fire, fire.
This passenger has been singled out for his quick actions.
When I saw that the suspect, he was getting on fire, and I freaked, of course, and without any hesitation, I just jumped over all the seats, and I just jumped to the suspect, and because I was thinking, oh, like he's trying to blow up the plane.